Hey, hey, hey. Hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey, y'all. Welcome back to Convos with Ken. It has been a minute, a year, which is crazy, but we're back. Do I know how long? No, I just know God said record, so I'm gonna obey. Even though I was done, I was good off podcast. And it was okay for me. I was good. It didn't bother me. Just put it down and do what I've been doing. But we don't always get to do what we want, right? Right. I heard you agree. I heard you agree. But anyway, we're going to get started, jump right in. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that it's a little tricky because it requires you to look at yourself rather than looking at others. And that's not always fun. And if you're watching me on YouTube, because I think I'm going to upload this on YouTube, you're going to see me looking down at my phone. But if you're listening to me in your car or on a walk or, just listening to me in your home, because thank you, I appreciate that, then you won't even know that I'm looking down at my phone because I wrote notes. I feel like this topic is something that I've really had to walk through, which pretty much anything that I say on here, I've walked through because I want to be transparent. I want to be honest. And I want to be open. And I don't want to talk about things that don't resonate with me. And also, I'm just obeying God. Anyway, we're going to get started. I don't know if any of you guys have heard this. I feel like it might be a rather new term. I don't know. But self-preservation. And I like Merriam-Webster's dictionary's definition. So I'm going to read both of the ones that they have. And the first one is preservation of oneself from destruction or harm. The second one is a natural or instinctive tendency to act so as to preserve one's own existence. And one thing that I've learned and I'm seeing even in my own life is that self-preservation will ruin a lot of relationships in our generation. I'm going to repeat that. Self-preservation will ruin a lot of relationships in this generation. And it's because we have become so consumed with self that we've forgotten that being selfless is a part of community. Being selfless is a part of community. And I know right now we're in this heavy therapy age, which is great. I'm not against therapy. I had a therapist once upon a time. She was phenomenal. But I think we have started to overuse boundaries. And we've gotten to a point that every situation that we see that has some sort of flaw or some sort of kink in it, we automatically deem someone unlovable, or we deem them as they cause too much conflict. We automatically write them off and decide, well, because you did something to me or I saw you do something that I just don't like, you're toxic for me. Everything is now labeled as trauma or whatever the buzzwords are here and now. And it's a slow killer of community. Self-preservation is literally you putting up walls and boundaries and all these different things to protect yourself. But a lot of times you miss loving and showing compassion like Jesus did to others. And when we look at his life, we will see that he was an advocate for compassion. Jesus was compassion. He was compassionate. He was thoughtful. He was kind. He considered others before he thought of himself. And this is not me advocating for abuse or to stay in what really is toxic, but it is to say maybe take a step back before you cut that person off. Maybe begin to look at what they're going through before you decide that this is no longer a relationship that you want to pursue. Every friendship that you have is not going to be smooth sailing and easy. Some of them take work. Some of them might be you putting in 80% and that other person putting in 20 because that's all that they can give you. And I feel like we hear these types of conversations when it comes to this umbrella of marriage, but we negate these types of conversations when it comes to friendship. Friends are just as important. And no, I'm not married, so I'm not going to sit up here and say friends are more important than your husband or wife, but they play a vital role in who you are. You know, you are the company that you keep, birds of a feather flock together, all of these different things. But I do believe part of that is true. Who you hang around makes up who you are. They have influence over you. And if every time someone does something that you don't like and you just decide to put a wall up and erase them from your life, I begin to question, are you really someone who's a good friend? You have to be willing to go the extra mile in friendship. And you can't do that when you are someone who's like, I am the self preservation advocate. No one can hurt me. No one can do anything to me. And a lot of times, those types of mindsets come from being hurt in the past. And I get it. Who wants to be hurt again? No one. But I don't believe it's fair to say that if a friend hurts me or says something or does something that I don't like, they're not warranted a conversation. I'm just cutting them off, especially when you have history with that person. And I think it's really easy now, again, because we have these buzzwords like you triggered me and this caused me trauma. So it allows people to really use it as a cop out, if I'm being honest. You're not willing to have a conversation because you're afraid of the response that you'll receive. So instead of being honest and telling a friend, hey, you hurt me, you'd rather go ghost. You'd rather shut off parts of your heart. You'd rather say, you know what, this just is no longer working out for me. And you would just rather not face the actual issue that is at hand because you're afraid of being hurt. And I believe that in friendship, just like in any other relationship, you will get hurt. It's inevitable. Your friend is going to say or do something that you dislike, but you don't have to shut off who you are. You don't have to go ghost, give them the silent treatment simply because you didn't like something that they did. I'm not advocating for abuse. I'm not advocating for staying in situations that genuinely are toxic. But what I am saying is have grace and show some compassion in relationship. Friendship is so important, especially as a young woman. I love my friends deeply. And if I start crying, I will shut all of this down because that's embarrassing. But I love them so much. And I would literally do anything for my friends. And I know that they feel the same way about me. But we didn't get there overnight. We had to have very honest, transparent conversations about things that have hurt us in the past, in other friendships. We've had to have honest and vulnerable conversations with one another when we feel like the other person maybe didn't hear us or maybe didn't treat us the way that we felt we deserved to be treated. And because we were able to have those conversations, our relationship was able to grow in a new way. Growth is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. And when we look at the life of Jesus, he was so patient. He was patient with people. And we say that we want to be like Christ, but then we're not patient. We don't show compassion. We give people the silent treatment. We're easily offended. We're ready to cut somebody off the moment they don't answer the phone. And we're not willing to open up our mouth and say, hey, you hurt me. You did this and it hurt me. I know you may not have even meant it that way, but this is how I took it. And I just need clarity to know, am I tripping? These things are necessary to grow. And you will constantly hit a glass ceiling in relationship when you are the one who's like, I am Mr. or Miss Self-Preservation. I am not being vulnerable. I'm not being honest. I'm not going to tell someone when they hurt me. They don't deserve it. Because those are the type of things you tell yourself because someone hurt you in the past and because you were honest with them and you didn't get the response or the apology that you deemed as necessary. Now everyone else is like the parent or the old best friend or the old sibling that did XYZ to you. When in reality, if you just open your mouth and told someone how you felt, you would probably find out that's not what they meant. If you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you'd probably realize, hey, they weren't responding because they had a lot going on. And it wasn't because they were mad at me. But that takes vulnerability. That takes you putting your pride and your ego aside and being honest. And being honest that you were hurt. And it's not easy. It's not fun, but it's worth it. And I honestly feel like when you're able to really take a look at yourself, you'll realize you've probably done this a lot more than you think. Because you're protecting yourself. You're protecting your ego. You're protecting your feelings. And I get it. I was the same way, not willing to open up, not willing to say, oh, you hurt me. Then I would let all these different things build up. And I'm keeping a record of wrong, which is sinful, right? And they did this. They said that. They did this to me. They did that to me. 2 years ago, they blah, 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 blah. And then I get to a point where I explode. And now I ain't friends with you no more. Because I'm like, man, I wasn't able to be honest. And boom, lost a friendship. Or boom, there's strain in a relationship. I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that way. I want to have open, honest relationships with people. I do my best. I'm not perfect to put my pride aside and admit when I'm wrong. It's not easy. I probably said that a million times, but it's worth it because I want real, authentic relationships and I want to show up like Christ does in my friendships. And it's important to be honest in those relationships. It's important to be vulnerable in those relationships Because if we're not open, if we're not honest, what are we doing? Just laughing? That's not a friend. That's just somebody I can laugh with. But if the Bible says that, a friend sticks closer than a brother, I want I want that. I want to have those relationships. I want to be in deep relationship with people. I want to show myself friendly. I want to have real, authentic friendship. And if you want real, authentic friendship and relationship with anyone, you're going to have to put yourself aside. And yeah, you may say, well, I do tell my friends when I'm offended or when we get in fights. But when you're going through something and you need prayer, are you trying to are you trying to, be perfect in front of your friends and you can't tell them when you need prayer and what you need prayer for? The amount of voice memos my friends have of confessions, things that I've done, things that are in my heart, I thank God for them because I had to put that wall down and say, you know what? If the Bible says confess your faults unto one another so that ye may be healed, let me confess. Let me tell them what's going on. Let me tell them where my heart is at right now in this moment so that I'm not harboring these things on my own. I'm not holding them on my own. Let me see if they have space for me to tell them, hey, this is where I'm at right now. And I really could just use prayer. I really could use your wisdom on this area of my life. Because, yeah, you may be able to say that hurt me, but you're so prideful that you can't even ask for prayer. Self-preservation. You can't even say, hey, right now, today, I'm really struggling in this area of my faith. And I am open to advice. I'm open to the wisdom that you have because I'm struggling. I don't want to live a life that I can't have real close relationships because I'm so busy trying to put up a mask and not show people who I really am. And no, everyone doesn't deserve the depths of your heart. They don't deserve to know every single thing, right? Like no one can even hold every single thing. That's why we have Jesus, right? He can hold it all. He's got the whole world in his hands. Like that is real, But it's great to have people that I can lean on and do life with when things are hard. It's great to be able to call up a friend and be vulnerable and honest. It's great to not harbor things in my heart against someone and then explode because I've done it before. And I don't want to live my life that way. It's great to be able to say, I'm going to show some compassion and be understanding. And I'm going to choose to be unoffendable in this moment because I know this person and they didn't mean it that way. And even though my heart is telling me they are, I'll talk about it later because I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. But think about how miserable it is when you're constantly trying to put on a front for someone else, when you're not able to talk about how you're feeling in a healthy way. And now you've got unspoken beef from something somebody did to you 6 months ago because you just couldn't be honest. Self-preservation. motivation. And we miss the mark a lot of times in community because we've forgotten what community really looks like. It does not look like cutting people off simply because they've upset you one too many times. It doesn't look like cutting people off because, you know what, it's just too much. It's too much. What do you mean by that? What is too much? There are times, I hear people in marriage say, like, sometimes it's 80-20, sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes I'm the only one that can give anything at all. Why don't we carry that same type of principle into friendship? I can give an example. I have a friend, love this person, and I'm not going to give a lot of detail. Again, I love this person. I was texting them so much and not getting a response, calling, everything. And recently they called me and I pick up. I'm like, hey, like, oh my gosh. They proceed to tell me everything that went down. And at the end of our conversation, where they were very open and honest and didn't try to preserve themselves, they apologized and they were like, yeah, this is why I hadn't been responding. And you know what they said to me? Thank you for continuing to text and call, even though I wasn't replying. And it's because I decided you are my friend and I am not gonna give up simply because you didn't respond to like 10 texts. The old me, truth, would have said, oh no, after 2 and 1 phone call, I'm done. You just don't want to be my friend. You just don't care about me. Whole time they going through something. And because I held on and because I said, this is not like your character, and I chose to not be offended when I didn't get a response, I still got my homie. And that means a lot to me because they also said in the conversation, everyone doesn't feel like that. Everyone doesn't have that same grace that you do. And that's not me bragging, but that's just me saying, imagine if you tried again. Mm-hmm. 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 Imagine if you sat down and had the conversation and said, hey, I really do want this friendship, but some things gotta change. And that if you're the person on the receiving end of hearing that, imagine if you decided, I'm not gonna be offended. I'm gonna hear out what this person is saying, and we're gonna work this out because I deem it worth it. I believe friendships or this friendship is worth it. It could be not simple because it's hard. It's not an easy thing to be that honest and that vulnerable because, you want to feel safe and you want to feel heard. And in friendship, you want to be seen in different ways. And what if you just took time to really get to know how that person does friendship instead of just cutting them off the moment they do or say something you don't like? Sit with that. Really think about that. And think about how going forward you can do better as a friend. Again, friendship is so important. The people that you surround yourself with matter. They matter. And you want to make sure that your actions show that. Yeah, Yeah, I know, sister. I know, brother. Probably was like, dang. Yeah, look at yourself. Are you selfless in friendship? Are you compassionate? Are you gracious towards your friends? And if you are not, who hurt you? Literally. How can you forgive them? And how can other people not receive the backlash and the punishment of the last season? How can you make sure of that? Heal, heal, and heal again. Thank you for listening to Convos with Ken. I would appreciate it if you commented, if you liked, if you shared, if you subscribed, all the things. If not, it's cool. Keep listening, and we'll be back soon. Bye.